What are the most insensitive words you've ever been told? Subscribe to the channel, like it, and leave a comment. This will greatly help the development of the channel. Thank you. My boss, upon learning that my father was a pastor, said, "All priests are perverts. He cheated on your mother, you just don't know about it." That same day, I quit. On the first day I returned to work after my daughter's death, I made a silly mistake. My annoyed colleague said, "Damn, good thing your genes are no longer polluting the gene pool. How many years did you get for murder? Because that jerk really deserved to be killed. I'm sure no judge on earth would have found you guilty. Otherwise, Jesus Christ himself would have appeared in the courtroom." Once I lived with a man who was very proud of how much he worked. One day, he shamed me for being lazy because I did nothing all day, which of course was true, except for the 3 days a week I went for chemotherapy at the oncology center. The rest of the time, I just lay around. When I told my mom I finally had a girlfriend, her reaction was quite standard. "Be very careful with any girl who shows interest in you. What can you offer her? You have almost nothing." Wow, thanks, Mom. Of course, the girl only wants my kidneys. By the way, I love my mom. She followed a mistaken strategy of overprotecting her inexperienced younger son. Also, for the record, I do have something to offer, and I am married to a hot girl who isn't trying to sell my kidneys on the black market. Well, as far as I know. My boss didn't give me time off for my aunt's funeral. Since she was technically my second cousin, she wasn't a close enough relative to miss the annual training day, which I had attended for 2 years in a row and learned nothing new. I already didn't like my boss, but after that, my opinion of her plummeted. I always find it funny when employers try to deny time off. I notify them not to get permission, but so they can plan for my absence. I'm gonna take that day off anyway. Screw them. At every job I've been at, they would have escorted me out for that. After being expelled from school, I struggled to maintain contact with a friend. One day, I apparently annoyed him, and he wrote back, "God, I don't care if you're lonely. It's not my problem. Leave me alone." So I did, and I had the best 2 months of my life. Then he decided he needed me, came back and begged to renew our friendship, to which I replied, "God, I don't care if you're lonely. It's not my problem. Leave me alone." Maybe it was a bit childish, but it was still the most satisfying moment of my non-romantic life. My mom recently died. I have a jerk colleague who constantly comes to work high and does nothing. Over the weekend, he got too high to work, so I essentially ran the entire restaurant. He tried chatting with me about nonsense and got angry when I ignored him. Suddenly, he said, "I really want to go home and see my mom." "Are you gonna see your mom?" "Oh, right." And he laughed. My heart broke. "Screw you, Paul." "I won't come to your funeral," said my narcissistic bipolar mother 4 months after I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. "God sent you a miscarriage because he knew you would be a terrible mother." A friend called to tell me she was pregnant. I congratulated her, said it was great, etc. She asked how my pregnancy was going. That morning, I had had a miscarriage, and I shared my pain with her. She replied, "Well, you didn't want the baby as much as I did. Good thing the miscarriage happened to you, not me." 16 years have passed, and I still haven't forgiven her. Sorry, but what the hell? Who in their right mind says that crap? Someone who shouldn't be raising a child. "Can't believe this university accepts trash like you," said my racist neighbor from across the street when she found out I got into a top 10 engineering school. That bitch called immigration on me and my family, and repeatedly called the police with ridiculous accusations. "Why are you upset? The baby wasn't even born yet." An ex-friend said this after learning that my then-wife had a miscarriage at 6 months. After a decent, as I thought, intimate moment, the girl got off me, stared at the ceiling, and said, "I should probably become a prostitute because I sleep with people I don't respect at all." That relationship didn't last long. I have 3 houses, bitch, and you have nothing. Your father doesn't love you. I was 12 years old when I heard this from my dad's girlfriend. Luckily, I recorded that conversation and sent it to my dad. She's no longer alive. What actually happened? We never liked each other and constantly fought over small things. My dad chalked it up to me not accepting his new girlfriend because she was his first partner after my mom. He didn't believe any of the stories I told him or took her side. After I showed him the recording, he looked very worried and probably felt guilty. He immediately made her pack her things and leave. Now we are very close, and we have a trusting relationship. Later, he met a new woman, a childhood friend, and they've been married for some time. At first, I thought she was rude, but I was just afraid she'd be like the former one. Now we get along well, and I often visit them. My brother died when I was in 7th grade, and after I didn't go to school for 2 weeks, my parents decided it was time for me to go back so I wouldn't fall behind. On the first day during the 3rd lesson, girls started bullying me, and after I bravely stood up to them, one of them shouted, "At least my brother didn't die." I couldn't stand it, burst into tears, and ran away. My friends later began to avenge me in various ways, but I didn't know about it until the school psychologist told me. She was never punished, but her parents were told about the incident. Honestly, her life, as far as I know, became pretty shitty. No one wanted to be friends with her, and she ended up graduating a year early to leave our town. I'm sure she regrets her words, but I can't help feeling a sense of justice. When I was little, I was told that adoptive parents don't love their children as much as their biological ones. Now, I laugh about it, but at the time it hurt. I worried because I was adopted. You know, that phrase never made sense to me. You were literally chosen to live with them as their child. That's much more important than just being born, as there are always accidental, unwanted children or biological children who are treated horribly. Who the hell says that to a child? Like, hey, I need to make sure this kid knows their parents don't love them 100%. What if they don't know? I need to tell them. Why? When I was in school, we were very poor. My mom raised me alone, and I had only 1 pair of jeans, which I wore every day. There were 2 tiny holes on the jeans that I got climbing over a fence. One day, in drama class, the teacher randomly paired us for a mini play. I got partnered with a very handsome guy. Not a popular bully, but a regular nice guy who was friends with everyone. When we sat down to work, he asked, "Hey, can I ask you a question? Why do you wear the same pants every day?" I replied, blushing, "Because these are my only pants." The expression on his face was horrific, like his world was collapsing before his eyes. I realized he felt terrible for asking, and I felt terrible because I naively believed no one noticed I wore the same jeans every day. I teared up writing this, even though it happened 30 years ago. My sons, 12 and 16, saw this, and we talked a bit about being careful with our words. Then, my younger son started hugging me and crying, which made me completely fall apart. But suddenly, we remembered that boy, who probably still feels terrible about what he said, and we laughed. Hey, tactless boy, from Crescent Heights School in 1983. I forgive you. In my residential complex, there is one very wealthy family. They bought 2 apartments and made one out of them, and a family that can barely make ends meet. We kids hang out together. The girl from the poor family always wears the same shirt for the same reason you did. One day we were talking about clothes, and someone asked her, "Why do you always wear the same thing?" She teared up and replied, "I have nothing else." We shut up and changed the subject. A month later, it was Christmas, and that family received an anonymous package, a huge box of beautiful clothes for the girl and everyone else. And not just any mass market stuff, but Armani, Marks, and Spencer, we live in Hong Kong, G2000, and so on. In my teenage years, I had severe depression, which one night resulted in a big fight with my mother, ending with me taking almost a ton of pills. When I tearfully told her I needed help, she burst into tears and replied, "People will think I'm a bad mother." I dated a girl who sometimes said, "The girls and I are going out. Hope I find someone better than you." I think it was said half-jokingly, but in the end, we didn't work out. Fucking piece of shit, I hope you die. While I was suicidal and undergoing therapy, which she knew. Stop mourning her. Millions of people die of cancer every day. Do you cry for them too? No? Then shut up. What do you want from me? That evening, I told my boyfriend that my best friend had died after a 3-year battle with cancer. After those words, I left him, although I should have done it much earlier. "Better if you died," said my ex, with whom I had been dating for 2 years, the day after my clinical death. "Are you done with PMS?" After my grandfather's death. "I'm a guy." I immediately blocked her. Not the worst case in my life, but it still hurts. This happened the day after my grandmother died, when I was in 5th grade. I told the jerk math teacher that I didn't do my homework because I cried all night and tried to process the news, and he interrupted me with the words, "Yes, I know, your father wrote to me. But that's no excuse for not doing your homework." The whole class silently listened to his lecture that homework is more important than the loss of a family member. I remember barely holding back from punching his ugly face. After my long-awaited pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, a friend announced that she was glad because now I could go to bars with her again. In college, I was assaulted by a coach. 10 years later, I met a guy from my college. He asked for my phone number. I refused. No wonder the coach raped you, frigid bitch. I have to admit, whatever you're doing, it's working. You look great. Thanks, Mom. I just told you about my eating disorder, but yeah, at least I was skinny. Are you still here? The fetus died a few hours ago. Words of the obstetrician at St. Bernardine's Hospital, 1972. After giving birth, the baby was taken away, and I was placed in a storage room converted into a hospital ward. My daughter died 12 hours later, but no one even thought to inform me. I lay drugged, sleepy, in a fake ward. He forgot, then said he could have saved her, but it wasn't worth his time and money. I won a prestigious National Science Foundation scholarship, and my professor said, "We knew you'd get it. After all, you're a girl." I don't have it as bad as many, but still, I'm a nurse. One day I heard from a patient's relative, "Couldn't get into university, so you became just a nurse?" Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and watch other videos. We create new content every day for you.